Alright, what's up people? So we're back. We're gonna do another hour. I'm gonna go ahead and set my timer here. And so at this point so I had modified server and client and stuff related to dirt check. It was a good bit of code, and now I am dealing with a bug, crash bug. Well, it's more of a, doesn't actually crash it, but it's a game-breaking bug. So we implemented some logs to try to debug this, and I think I have figured out what's going on. So alright, so right here in data transfer function, let's look at this. Let me show you this. We have this for client 2. Okay, this is actually client, so that's why. Let's try this again. Let's just run it again. So we're gonna run the server here. We'll run the client. Same thing here. We're gonna run that client. Alright, so there we go. We get the waiting other player, and then if we start at the top, we're just looking for things associated with 2, because I've analyzed client 1 enough to know that it's working correctly, and that it's not like, you know, client 2 is actually just errantly showing 1 instead. I don't think that's not happening. So we can just look at the logs that have 2 in them. So we have the game state setter, which, okay, and this is showing the val. So after the game state setter, we properly get the data transfer function start, which is called through the setter, by the setter, and then we don't get anything else. That's it. So the buck is stopping between data transfer function and cal lock list function. So basically between here and here, where we have the cal lock list function called, that is our problem. Let's see, let's look at re-entry lock. And see where all we're acquiring the re-entry lock. Okay, so I'm going to disable this section because it uses the re-entry lock. We're gonna avoid using it because I think that is an issue. There's an issue with that. And then we have with re-entry. So this is like part of the core function. This is not logging for debugging. This has to happen. So we didn't even get the we didn't get this log. Yeah, well, we didn't even get the first log. So we're not even entering into cal lock list function. We're entering into data transfer function, and between the top of this function and, like, well, right here, something's going wrong. So let's just put a log before each lock acquisition. So we're gonna go and we'll put 1. Well, we're dealing with client 2. We don't even really want to worry about client 1. we're just going to focus on client 2. So this is if cal object int is equal to 2. Okay, so we're gonna log this, and this is gonna be inside data transfer function lock number 1. We'll call this lock number 1. We'll put before lock acquire number 1, and then we'll do an after, and we're gonna see, let's just go ahead and run it and see if we're actually getting the lock acquired. So let's run the server, run the client, whoops, run the client again. Alright, so we verified the bug is there. So let's look at our printout, our log, and see what we got. So we get before lock acquire number 1, but we're never getting after lock acquire number 1. So this is the line. So we pinpointed it, which is cool. Verified source line of constant, we'll call it constant waiting other player bug. Verified source line of constant waiting other player bug. And I'll just, this is usually what I do. I'll put doesn't print out below log after lock acquisition. Verified deadlock. Which I'm a little bit confused because reentrant lock allows you for to recursively acquire it, and it is a reentrant lock. So this makes me believe that what's happening is we are manually acquiring the lock using the acquire method, but we're not manually releasing it in that context. So let's search for reentrant lock. Actually, well, yeah, this is fine. This should do the trick. Okay, so this is changed attribute list. Oh, that actually wasn't even, oh yeah, it was. Okay, so that was a different function. Yeah, this is in the cal lock list function. This one is in the data transfer function. So we have with the reentrant lock. But that's for client 1. So yeah, this is actually, this is the proper one. Like, that is the first one, and it's the one where the bug, at least this time. I mean, maybe we should test it again, but I'm pretty certain this is the issue. Data transfer function. Okay, so this is the next lock acquisition. Apparently we're not using that there. It says we're not using it here either. You know, I think what I should do, first off, let me close all these files. And because now that I have narrowed down the problem, what I'll do is we're gonna search. I think I could just search for this one using Control Shift F. Now let's look. Okay, so progression, we don't actually use that here. So the last place is going to be here in server. Okay, so we reference it using this terminology. So let's look for it here. Okay, so we acquire. Must have this else. Why did we? Man, I see what the fucking problem is. It's right here. I could have just looked at this and found that instead of doing that debugging. So sometimes, guys, it is better. Well, especially if you have this color-coded comment extension like I do. Like, this was very obvious. If I would have just went and looked here, I would have saw this. I mean, granted, I might not have realized that was like the cause of the bug, but it's whatever. Anyway, we found it. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be it. So we need to have this else. Man, see this little mistake, bro, just cost me like fucking what, an hour, 2 hours of debugging. Let this be a reminder of how important it is to refactor your code properly the first time. This one little mistake is 2 hours of debugging. Well, a solid, like, yeah, basically 2 hours. An hour and a half, give or take. So this is so simple, man. Basically, this just needs to go all the way down. And I remember, like, I commented this out. I just fucked up. That's all. It's really simple. So we'll drop the comment there, and now we'll go all the way up to change attribute list, select acquire. We check the length of the associated change attribute list. If it's greater than 0, we do all this stuff. If it's not greater than 0, then we release the lock. Yeah, there we go. So that's almost certainly going to be the source of our problem. And well, now we can test it and see if that is indeed the issue. I think it is. So let's run the server here. Crank up that client. Bro, I bought this new boxing ball thing that you put on your head, and it's really cheap. but I was using it for like the first time. It's got just a little thin black elastic string that attaches to the ball. Punching the ball, and the fucking string itself popped back and hit me in my eyeball, like directly center. That shit hurt, bro. And now like my eye is red and irritated. Like it really fucking got my eye like bad. Like I can't believe it. I was like, no way, dude. Bummer. Stupid ass. Okay, so we're gonna. It looks like the bug is gone. That was the problem. Uh-oh. Whoa. Well, that's weird. That's. Oh, I wonder. It's all the logs. Yeah, the logging. All this logging is slowing the game down. See. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. See all this logging. Yeah. That printing to what is it? Whatever it's called. Printing to console is like very bad for performance. It's terrible. So that has destroyed the performance of the game. So we're pretty sure that the bug is fixed now. What we're gonna do is get rid of all of these logs that we have implemented while we were debugging. So I know we added them in. What is it? Basically, we have. Why does it do this? I gotta change the keybind for this. How do I fix this? Hotkeys. Let's disable the hotkeys altogether. Now when we hit, okay, I think that might have fixed it. There we go. Now we can use these hotkeys. And this, I just learned this actually. Like when I'm over here typing in the script window, and then I can do a hotkey for like the Explorer, the File Explorer over here. I can do Control-Shift-E, and then immediately it. Like I don't have to click. It's so much faster. So we added logs and change attribute list. That's the main one. And I can basically just undo all these changes. Luckily it let me undo the changes. Usually when you close the file, it doesn't let you undo changes. So I can just like Control Z all these away. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so the only change that we do want to keep is that one. So now let's what's the Control tilde? But I don't think you can. I wonder if there's a hotkey for this to like scroll that down. And what's the hotkey to go back to your like script window? What if we do Control 1? Oh, that does. So we can go. Oh, that's so much faster. See, I didn't realize you could do this. So now I'm in the terminal, and then if I Control 1, I'm back in the script. So I don't have to click anymore. This is I just learned something new today. Cool. Yeah, because I was watching Primogen, and I saw like how fast he was able to just like maneuver through his code editor, you know, and like he did everything with keybinds, and it was really fast how he transitioned from this to that window, and he wasn't clicking anything. And I was like, damn, that's really fast. You don't really realize how much it slows you down when you're clicking stuff. Even like quick clicks, things that you think are really fast. Just if you can learn the keybind for them, it's just, it will save you so much time in the long run learning all those keybinds. Yeah, so let's can we change this to C1 C2 to C1 C2 to avoid using locks? I don't actually know if that's true, but that's not what we're worried about right now. We're looking for logs that we can get rid of. Like this one. We don't need this anymore. Yeah, that's just for debugging. And then has to be a standalone function is imported and used in other files. Okay, there we go. So we got rid of those logs. I'm pretty sure there's more that we added. Okay, for instance, like this, the game state setter, that can be removed, and then this one as well. Data transfer function ran, although we got rid of that. Apparently not. Is that from a... Oh god. Okay, yeah, we're not gonna search like that. I wanna hold up. Let's see. Just wanna make sure like I got a bunch of space. Wait, what? We got the we're seeing the waiting other player bug again? No way, huh? No fucking way, dude. So apparently, man, that bug still lives on. The waiting other player bug. Really? Well, that's not right. That's... I've never seen that before. What the fuck is this? Oh, so this is a nightmare. Okay, so instead of getting appended to player 1 and player 2, they got appended all to player... Well, if you're P2 game, then they all got applied to P2. If you're P1, then they all got applied to P1, which is odd. That's just odd behavior. That's strange. So I remember we changed... Let's look at the logs here. Okay, I think I know what's going on here. I think this is associated with dir check receive, where so like the client is receiving the data and it's appending it to its associated player instead of the other player, which means that like let's see, so we need to look at client dir check. So let's open up client. And then let's go to dir check. We can minimize this because we did just change this. So we're gonna find, I think basically this is the problem right here. The client ID. So we're always using, it's going to be player object. So right here, this is the problem. And okay, for the draw card as well, this is specifically the one that we're dealing with, is the draw card. So in this case, we would actually want to use, like, how do we determine I gotta use the restroom, I'll be right back. I think I know how to fix this though. Okay, so I was dumb. Fucking starved. Hungry. Okay, so long story short, this code is bad. We need to use let's see. We have to use their like receive data. So where does receive data come from? Okay, so let's see. Receive data is tube 3 for receive only. This is the specific data which is to be applied. Alright. So we need to go to dir check where it's called, and okay, so receive data is tube 3. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so receive data. Alright, so where is tube? So this is from the apply list. So for the receive section for both client and server, we need to so what is tube 3? 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's just the data. Well, and then the data is what gets applied to the change attribute list, right? So like whenever we change custom append list, whenever we append, we do data transfer function, and we only pass in the card group name from 3 onward. So, but also, so let's put a bookmark here. Let's put a bookmark everywhere where we have self card group name 3. Let's do a search for this. So I think like what we need to do is just pass in the entire card group name instead of a truncated version of it, and then that will allow us to, whenever we're handling that piece of data later on when we're applying it, we know to which player it should be applied to. And I'm just like, how did we know before? Like, where did we get that data from? Like, were we just getting lucky or whatever? So that we don't need to worry about that one. That one. So I'm adding bookmarks to all these. Alright, and there's also going to be one in skeleton clicked card, or skeleton draw card. That's the one we're dealing with, right? So we have cow object int. Okay, so let's look at data transfer function where it's defined. Okay, so I see what's happening here. So let's say the client 2 on the server side picks his draw card, clicks it, and whenever he clicks it, that gets transferred over to the server side. Then the server side assigns that clicked card to the draw card. It says, okay, that clicked card you clicked, now that's your draw card. And it properly runs the data transfer function in the correct terms, so it would go off of the C2, and it would get added to the C2 change attribute list. Now the C2 change attribute list this data gets sent to the other client. This gets sent to C2 and C1. Now, whenever it gets received by C1 and it goes to apply the data through dir check apply or dir check receive, it is not using the associated data ID. It is using its associated client ID. So like it's looking from the wrong perspective. So ultimately, I have to figure out how to extract the ID that we need, like the proper ID. You know, since we're changing the player 2 hand, we want to use player 2's hand and not player 1's hand. How do we grab that ID? Well, so there's a few different instances. Like, so we're looking for player object, right? So player object is used here. So let me just put a note here. So it's only a few instances, and we also need to review whether or not So I'm pretty sure this one will be fine because we don't apply other game data. So this one should probably be okay. Yeah. So it's really this. Just the player object, I think that's gonna be bugged. So what we need to do here is well, without changing the code that we currently have in custom append list, all the ones that we bookmarked, we could instead maybe just use the could use the data that's already there. For instance, we can use the receive data. So when we call dir check and we pass in the receive data, so we pass in toop3. So toop3 is 0 is the data. Now we already went through this, but light thing fell down. I got a little black light down here, Phil. Okay, so the data is specifically 0, 1, 2, 3, and then the apply counter. So in this instance, it would be okay. Let's go through the chain of events here. We append or pop or clear, whatever we will, and then we include all of this data in the and pass it to the data transfer function. Now, does this contain the ID? Well, yes, it does. It's the cal object int. So it's the first thing that's passed to the data transfer function. So let's go there. So we have the data transfer function cal object int. So what do we do with the cal object int from this point? What do we do with it? Well, we don't include it in the cal tube. See? We don't include it. So it basically just gets thrown away. Well, it gets used and then thrown away instead of adding to the cal tube. So the cal tube, which is what we end up adding to the change attribute list, which is what gets transferred and then received, consists of the current time, the dir string, the adder name, and then the data. But the data in this case would be this. It would be 0, 1, 2. Well, I don't know exactly how we frame that. It would be 0, 1, 2. Yeah, so that's 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, data is cal tube 2. So that's what we use. And the cal tube originally is passed as the 0, 1, 2 at index 2 to the data transfer function. So yeah, 0, 1, and 2. So this is the cal tube, this whole thing. So it doesn't have the ID associated with it, but the cal object int does. But here's the question. Would it be easier to include the cal object int into the cal tube that gets added to the change attribute list, or should we instead make it so that the card group name is just passed entirely and we use the full card group name instead of a partial shortened card group name, which includes that ID. You see what I'm saying? So it would be, instead of us just passing the hand string, we would pass p1 hand, p1.hand or p2.hand, which would designate, which one we're talking about. And when we go to receive and apply the data, since it's going to be in that package, that tuple, we just would grab it and say, okay, based on that, since it says P1, we're going to apply it to P1. If it says P2, we're going to apply it to P2. Now, the possible issue with that would be so in dirt check, where we are, let me find this player object. Okay, so I'm gonna bookmark these as well. So let's bookmark. So we got Control-Alt-Z. We're gonna bookmark that. Then we got. So this is the only. These are the two locations. It's skeleton player data. Okay, no, we actually do it a third place, and then skeleton draw card, and then we do player object assignment, but we don't actually use, we use it as object in this instance. So we say object, so this one needs to be addressed, this one needs to be addressed as well, so on and so forth. Alright. So I'm gonna put all this in the things to do, because I think I'm gonna go ahead and quit because we're about to hit the 2nd hour mark. I'm gonna go take a shower and I'm gonna eat a little snack. I might work on it a little bit more, but I do need to write this down. I don't want to just. I wonder when I close this and then I open it back up, will my bookmarks still be there? I mean, I think they would, but I'm really not sure. They might not be. Like, I know it saves the colors, so if this extension saves when I reopen it, I would expect the bookmark one to also save its state and still be in effect. These bookmarks would like still be there. So essentially, when we change when we use this object to reference the player object, and then we pass object here to the set adder, in this case, like, this doesn't use the card group name. This could be a completely different attribute that has nothing to do with the card group. That's why it's generically named, because it applies to a bunch of other attributes. And then for this, well, in this case, it would be game, so we wouldn't have to worry about that. But for instance, right here, when we use the object, see, I don't know exactly what attributes are assigned here. It looks like we use all these, like choose multiple cards, click card active, etc. But the only one for player is name, at least the one we know of. So for game object assignment right here, like that, is fine to go off of the game object we assign at the beginning of dir check, but the player object, we wouldn't be able to extract that through a card group name string extraction because it wouldn't exist in this case. You see what I'm saying? So like we would have to well, and you know what? The data, the ID, what we really need is the sender ID, because if it's coming from client 1 from the C1 change attribute list, then that means it's gonna be associated with P1 client 1 or P1 game, right? So we don't have to assign that ID and pass it all the way through. I think we can just shorten the whole process a lot by it getting the ID from like the places where we call dir check. So like, and we can just pass it. We would still have to pass it as an arg here. So I'm thinking like basically, couldn't we just change this parameter to be changed from client ID to just an ID, and the ID will always be where the data is coming from, like the receive ID. Couldn't we do that? I feel like that would make sense. I feel like that would fix the issue. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would work, because that's what we use to assign the game object and the player object. And if that always was who we're receiving from, since we only receive game data from the associated client, and since we receive player data from both clients, the associated and non-associated, if we just used the data, the ID from the received data passed to this in this place, in the place of the current client ID, we would pass in the receive ID. Pretty sure that would work. So like right here we have the sender ID, and I want to say this is what we could use. So yeah, the toop sender ID. So this is the sender ID, is where we receive the data from, right? I'm pretty certain of that. There goes our timer. So time is up here. Yeah, so the sender ID, and I mean, couldn't we just get that? Like, we wouldn't even have to get that from the tuple. Oh no, we do, because the received cal tupless, we receive from both clients, remember? So like we can't just like assume the ID for each data point change. We have to extract it since they're commingled. Yeah, so sender ID and then tube sender. So the apply list Yeah, we're getting it here. We got this figured out, dude. So yeah, this is not complicated at all. Um, yeah, all we need to do, much simpler solution. So we have the sender ID right here. Then we rename it basically when we iterate through the apply list to the tube sender ID. And this doesn't get passed to dircheck, but we can instead replace this. So we'll do tube sender ID. We just copy this, and bam. So now for this goes through the apply list and applies each data point change that we've received in the apply list, and it will now use the ID associated with where the data originated from. So if it's P1, it's going to be P1. If it's P2, it's going to be P2. Like, I'm pretty sure that would suffice, because whenever we make a P1 change, we append to the C1 change attribute list, which in turn would put 1 as the sender ID, which would, you know, it's a 1-to-1, 2-to-2 thing. So like, in the opposite scenario, if it was P2, it would be appended to the C2 change attribute list, so the ID would be 2. And then therefore, when we pass the tube sender ID as 2 to the dircheck call at the top of dircheck, when it assigns the game object or the player object using this ID, it will always refer to the object, the proper object. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go over to, let's see, tube sender ID. Where is it? So we want to go to dircheck first of all, and this is going to be changed. Current client ID, we're changing this to tube sender ID. So now let's go to the next place where dircheck is called, which is only one other place actually, remember, because we modified it. So this is now going to be, so we do the same thing here. This is in what? Which one is this? Is this server? Yeah, we're in server. So we do tube client ID, or tube sender ID, and bam, we're going to pass that here. And now we're going to replace this client ID with tube sender ID to accurately reflect the params. And now we can go to client, and we'll go all the way to the top to where dircheck is defined, and we're going to change this to be tube sender ID, and we'll just change this over to be tube sender ID. So this is going to be the tube sender ID, the tube sender ID, that ID. References the client which sent the data, 1 or 2. Okay, yeah, that's simple. And then now, wherever we had, what did we call it, client ID, we're gonna instead, well, we're gonna put this here, and then we'll call this the client ID. And now we're gonna replace so yeah, now if the tube sender ID is equal to 1, so on and so forth. Tube sender ID is equal to 1. If tube sender ID is equal to 1, it's so on and so forth. So yeah, now this should work correctly. And this should work correctly as well. This should be the correct assignment. Same thing here. And here. And here. And here. So we fixed that. Yeah, so we're not going to modify these like we were considering. Now, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure this should have fixed everything. Object arg. Oh, we don't use object arg anymore, do we? Object arg. Yeah, we don't actually. Yeah, we assign the object that was an argument. That was a parameter, and we removed that parameter. So we get rid of these comments here. Same thing here. And like, yeah, I'm pretty sure assigns other client bool arg and object arg. If their string variable is equal to player object arg. Yeah, we don't use this. This is gone, so this is dead code. Okay, so this just assigns the this is object arg assignment. We don't need that. Okay. We really don't need to div that out. And then in server, we can do the same thing. Well, actually, we need to modify this comment. Assigns the assigns other client bool arg to be used as the var pass as the other client bool. To dirt for the later dirt check call. Assigns other client bool arg to be used as the var pass as the other client bool for the later dirt check call. Yeah, that's right. So we get rid of this all the way here. Assigns other client bool arg to be used as the var pass as the other client bool for the later dir check call. And so we can get rid of this. Boom, get it out of here. And same thing with this. Get it out of here. And what else? If their server is equal to deck object arg. Yeah, we just don't use the object arg at all. So we just don't need it. So now we have if tube sender ID is equal to current client ID, the client bool arg equals false, and then otherwise other client bool arg is equal to true. And why why is this one highlighted? Because gotcha. All right. So we got rid of all the object arg code, and we should have fixed this. So let's do a test real quick and see what we get here. I got my fingers crossed, bro. I'm like, please, man, let me have gotten this right for once. I don't know why it's highlight. It usually doesn't highlight all those. I guess it. Okay, we got a bug here. Game object has an attribute screen surface. Okay, so we got another bug, but I'm not gonna worry about that. We go over here, crash bug, the client rule, dead dirt check code. So we have during game testing, after continuation logic, after removal of send section related code, we encounter a bug. Also not letting, yeah, we fixed this, so that's done. Okay, then we have other client bool, dead dirt check code. So let's put this in the devlog first. Let's put, I put the wrong time. It was not 2:55. Oh, it was. I did 2 sessions. Oh yeah, it was exactly like an hour. So it was 3:55. And what did we do then? We continued debugging constant waiting other player bug. And then we did another session. So we put and that started at, well, an hour and 22 minutes ago, which would be, if it's 7:11 now, that would be, so let's go an hour and 11, which would be 6, and then 11 minutes back from that would be 5:49, right? I'm pretty sure that's right. So 5:49 to we'll just say 7:15, and that is 1 hour plus 1 hour and, well, basically 30 minutes roughly. Well, we did take a little break, so let's say an hour and 15, so it's 2.25 hours, give or take. And now we can just copy this and fix the time to be 5:49 to, so let's say 7:12. We finished debugging the constant player bug, game tested and verified, bug is fixed. Continued despite fix, encountered a new replacement crash bug. And it was the attribute error, and we'll just copy this so we know. Alright, and now we'll say that because we're gonna do this, so we need to say that we're gonna do it, that we will stage and commit all these changes. So we're gonna go 7:13 to 7:15. There we go. So we can copy this. Well, actually, we can still copy it and go over here, and other client bool dead dir check code. Realize we don't send, if we need to check for it in various places in dir check. Other client bool, we don't send game data. Okay, that's not done. Game object versus ID. Okay, that's not done. Well, we did do the dirt check review, but we'll put the current issue now is just gonna be crash bug. Bug appeared after fixing constant waiting other player bug, and that's not what I wanted to put. I'll just put this right here. Attribute error game object screen surface. Line number 12, 44, game 5. Alright, there we go. And then just put that we stopped here. Just add that to devlog, see line 16. Okay, so now we can copy this, kill that script. We're gonna cd out to the root project directory, which we did. We're gonna do git branch to make sure we're on the right branch, which we are. We're gonna do git add to add everything, to commit it. Well, to add it to be to stage it to be committed. Then we'll do git commit -m double quotes, paste in the devlog double quotes, enter to commit. Looks like we successfully committed. Now we'll do git push Canasta secondary to push to the remote repo. There we go. Alright, now we can go back over here. Dude, never install that IO bit, whatever that is. Like, I forget what it is, but don't ever install it. It is a troll. Like, it will not let you get rid of it. Like, it's not like a virus or anything. It's like spamware. Like, it won't, like, when you go to exit out of it, it's like, are you sure you want to exit? Hit cancel. It's like the opposite thing you gotta click. It's like it's fucking trick, dude. It's like and it hides itself to where you can't disable it on startup. So we're checking the devlog here. Yeah, so it like hides itself to where you can't disable it on startup. It's not available in the list, but it definitely like does activate on startup. It's a pain in the ass. So anyway, now we have a new local backup in the backup folder, and yeah, so that's it. Yeah, so we're getting really close. Really excited. Just getting closer. Little bugs. These bugs. That was a really dumb mistake. I actually like even highlighted that. I highlighted that when I was refactoring it, and if I would have just been a little bit more thorough and just went back and looked at it again, like if I would have just scanned that file for like 5 seconds, I would have been like, hey, this is red, I made this turn red for a reason, and I would have just realized off the bat, like, oh yeah, I forgot to move this down like 20 lines, that's all I needed to do, and then reactivate it for that lock, which was causing that bug that we ended up spending like an hour debugging. So I could have solved that problem in like 5 minutes. So yeah, lesson learned. It's always a good idea to just glance at your like refactored section the next day, just to, you know, triple check, see if you left behind any caution comments, any little thing you might have forgot about. I wasn't diligent. I just fucked up there, and it cost me some time. So yeah, don't do that. Don't be like me. And yeah, so from this point on, this little bug I encountered, I'm pretty sure this is basically nothing. It should be just a little stuff. And yeah, so our to-do list is really short now, and other than like what we have on the to-do list, it's gonna be learning new things, and it's gonna be no, like, we're not gonna be debugging and stuff. We're gonna be like adding in maybe a perfect save system, the menu screen, and there's one other thing. We gotta fix like the score calculation, which is gonna be really easy to fix. I think adding in the menu screen isn't gonna be super hard either. I mean, it's not going to be completely easy, but it's not going to be really hard. Really the hardest thing left to do is that perfect save system. That's really going to be challenging, implementing that. That's basically like the last challenging thing I'm going to have to implement, and then I'm going to have to debug, obviously, and make sure it works correctly. And then it's new things, doing the database, implementing the database, creating like a front end for it or whatever, like, you know, linking it, like putting it online somehow to where you can either download it or you just like go to a website to play it, or whatever, you know. So I have to figure out like how to actually do that, and yeah, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Anyway, have a good night. See you tomorrow, hopefully. I'm gonna work and donate plasma, go to the gym tomorrow, so I'll probably be, well, actually I'll stream early in the morning, probably like at 10 after I get off work and I eat, and then I'll go, I change my times when I go donate plasma. I go at like noon now, so I'll probably do like an hour in the morning, and then granted that I get good sleep, and I'm not gonna take a nap. I took a nap today. I almost never do that, but yeah, so tomorrow I'm gonna go to work, get off, take a shower, eat, code, and probably code for an hour, and then go donate plasma, come back, go to the gym, or maybe code for another hour and then go to the gym later. And yeah, so we should be able to do at least 2 hours tomorrow, unless I have an appointment that I forgot about, which is possible. But anyway, have a good night.